seemed like a great guy to be the subject of a public monument, because he's a regular guy, you know, grew up in Colorado Springs. He was the principal at the Deaf and Blind School for many years. He was an inventor. He is an inventor, and he invents like things you can do with old washing machines. You can turn them into various things. And he invented a baseball that blind kids could play with that was musical, so they could hear it and bat it. And he was, you know, not a hero, not a general, not a big businessman in town, but kind of a regular, everyday hero. We wanted water to actually make the character move, and that has turned out to be the case. But water actually lifts Uncle Wilbur up, and it took a lot of inventing to figure out how best to do that. One of the things that people really love about Uncle Wilbur is the fact that he comes up and puts on a show. And that really hasn't been done much with fountains, where there's just a specific time of day when it comes up and puts on a show.
I have to say it was fairly daunting starting out on this, because it was pretty obvious that people like to donate things like fountains to cities. The ones that exist often are donated,
Right.
and they only work as long as those people are around to take care of them. We've heard of many cases where people kind of keep a fountain going in a little town or something like that, and then when they perish, then there's
nobody knows how to run it.
And that's it. And so we really tried when we started out to ensure that this one was something that could be.
There are manuals. I think a lot of people make public art and they put it up and it's there and everybody cheers and they walk off. And we had to actually be there for, you know, the first 2 years, figuring the whole thing out. Nobody had made one of these before. Nobody really knew how it worked, and that was a very interesting process. And then seeing the reaction of the kids. And the other interesting thing, just being there so much, has been seeing what it's done to Acacia Park, and actually, I think in a way, the whole downtown of Colorado Springs. When we did not pick Acacia Park as where Uncle Wilbur should go. That was a suggestion from the city that we put Uncle Wilbur there. And Uncle Wilbur has definitely had an impact on that park, because we really lived in that park for a couple of years, and it was a grim place, that Acacia Park. It was not a fun place to be.
And I knew about the fountain the night before they showed it.
You tell that story. That's
well, I was working on a computer, and he called and he said, "I thought maybe you ought to get it from the horse's mouth." And I said, "What's this?" And he said, "Well, we're calling a fountain after you, naming a fountain after you." I said, "What's it like? What kind of a fountain?" So then he described it, and the minute he said tuba, I knew where he just had heard my stories of how I happened to get to go to the World's Fair with the high school band before I was in high school, just because I was the only one in the whole city that could play the double B. And do you remember that sweet little girl that was in a wheelchair?
Yes.
Oh man, that gave me one of the biggest thrills I've had down there, because she's only 5 or 6, you know, just a little bit tiny, and had this brand new wheelchair, and all she could work it with is that finger, just around like that. And so I'm visiting with her mother while she's letting the picture develop. And that sweet little thing was, she didn't have any shoes on, and she'd ease over one of those nozzles. And then when that thing came up, when it hit her toe, she giggled. I've never heard such a sweet giggle in my life. But then, you know, it didn't frighten her or anything. She'd real quickly back up and go to the next one. She had 4 or 5 of them while we were standing there. I tell you, that was worth it.
You know, as the executive director at the Downtown Family YMCA, I can't say enough about what the fountain has meant to our programs and the participants here at the Y. I guess in the last 2 years we've taken full advantage of the fountain itself. We have 100 to 200 to 300 kids here a day at our day camp, and it's one of our highlights that the kids look forward to on a daily and weekly basis, to go over to the fountain and participate. So I know that we've taken full advantage of the fountain, and it's had a very positive impact on not only our kids but the experience they're having here at the YMCA program. Probably most important to me and to the downtown environment that the fountain has meant has been the atmosphere it's brought to downtown. The families, you know, every day when I walk around the downtown environment, whether I'm going to lunch or I'm taking a group of kids over to the fountain, I see literally tens of hundreds of kids and families participating in the park and in the fountain, having lunch and making that a focal point for downtown. So it's really changed the whole culture and environment, right, especially in this 2 or 3 block area downtown. It feels like a community and a family environment, and that's what the Y is all about. So we love the fountain.
Well, I have a little history to share. Some time ago, as mayor, I gave a speech saying I'd like to see a fountain downtown, and Kat came to my office and said, "What are you thinking of? I would be interested in designing a fountain." And so we talked about whimsy and fun and places where people would like to come and kids would play, and I had no idea that she had such a wild imagination and would come up with Uncle Wilbur. And so, you know, in the process of this happening, there was so much criticism in the community that people just couldn't envision this wild and crazy fountain that they've been hearing about. And I will never forget the grand opening. We had a tuba band playing Christmas carols, because that's what they knew how to play. It was a warm summer day. There was a clown, and there were lots of people and lots of kids. And I always said that I wanted a fountain that I could get my feet wet in, and so of course they held me to that, and I had to take my shoes off and run in the fountain, and the city manager, Jim Mullen, was there, and he got in the fountain, and pretty soon I looked around and there was council members and people from downtown and kids, and I mean, it was just a wonderful community event. And I think Uncle Wilbur's really been that ever since, a place where all kinds of people in our community can come together and just play and be happy and have fun. So I think it's one of the best things that's happened to downtown in the last 50 years at least.